Let's go, Rambler! So the last time we worked on this 1962 AMC Rambler, it was abandoned for 47 years. Things didn't quite go like we planned. Not gonna lie, I don't remember how to put it back together. It was basically a carburetor rebuild that didn't work. But I think I figured out where we went wrong. Let's step into our sanitary workstation and I'll explain to you what's going on here. Now, going way back to the very beginning, the first video with this car when we first rescued it and got it home, we did get it fired up and it went idle for a few seconds. Right! But when you would rev it up, you give it some throttle action, it would die. Since then, we've made a handful of videos with this car, the last one being the carb rebuild. Now, the rebuild did seem to go well, and upon returning the carburetor to the engine, it did fire up, but the engine would not idle and it would still die if you revved it up. Now, if she won't idle for you, your idle circuit might be plugged up. One of these teeny tiny passageways in here. Now, if it's dying on you when you give it some throttle, the accelerator pump is a great place to start. And that's pretty much where we left off, with kind of a cliffhanger. And on that video, a lot of you had some really good comments, and yeah, you know, you guys are on the right track with what I was thinking. There's probably a little passageway plugged up, something going on with the idle circuit, and with it still dying when you rev it up, that brings us back to the accelerator pump, but we just put a brand new one in, so what could be wrong with that? Well, that's where we get to my mistake. Behind the scenes, when you weren't looking, I took the carburetor back apart again and discovered something. The accelerator pump, you can see it right there in the center of the screen, that shiny new gold part. It did not fit well and snug into the accelerator pump well. Now, the well, which is where the accelerator pump sits down in, it's just shaped like a well. We did polish that up with some crocus cloth and put a couple drops of oil on the leather cup, which helps out with the ethanol fuel. Polishing that did not make the well any larger, just made it smoother. So what in the world? Why? What's going on here? I was able to fix it though and get the accelerator pump to fit nice and snug. It's actually squirting fuel out right now. Well, silly me, I forgot to take a screwdriver and put it up underneath the leather cup very gently. I won't do it, well, I guess I could show you. There's a spring in there. Stick it in there like that, and then you run it around the inside, because sometimes these have, now this is a made in USA accelerator pump. This is a good one that you can get these days. Sometimes they have a sealer on the inside of that leather cup. Breaking that sealer lets the leather cup and the spring in here expand a little bit, and then you get a snug fit into the accelerator pump well. So now we got suction for pumping fuel. I did bench test it and it works great. The pumping action is phenomenal. Squirts from here into this hole here. There's a better look at it. So the dying when cracking the throttle problem, that should be solved. We just got to deal with the idling problem now. So let's give everything another good scrub and blow out the passageways, throw it back on the car and see if it'll fire up. And if that doesn't work, we'll take the carburetor off, take it apart again, and we'll do some sort of overnight chemical dip. Let's find out. Ran out of carb cleaner right at the last second. Just enough. Something I want to do in the future is polish the outside of this carburetor. We'll take it off the car, take it apart in pieces again, and polish it up really nice, just like new. But for right now, we just need functionality. We just need to get the car back on the road where it belongs. Oh, geez. I almost forgot to put this check ball back in. Actually, what am I thinking altogether? We should probably take some compressed air and spray all these passageways out now and triple check or double check that they're clear. What in the world was I thinking? I guess I wasn't thinking. What am I doing, my friend? What in the world am I doing? Almost forgot that again. Or, well, I did forget it again. Thank you for saying something, though. If you wouldn't have started yelling at the screen, I never would have known. Let's do a little bench test-erino. Put some fuel in the float bowl, put our top on, and give the accelerator pump a pump. There we go, floaty, floaty. Good job. Remember that there's a spring in here on the shaft of the accelerator pump, so I'm gonna pump the accelerator pump up and down against that spring, and in here we should see the squirtage of fuel, the accelerator pump action. There it is. That's all I'm doing right here. And she is squirting mighty fine. Well, she's blowing like a humpback whale. So let's throw these other little doodads in place here. Throw it on the car and fire it up. Like a fool ski, I had these parts sitting right here. And I went to pick them up. And one of the two long screws, oh, almost lost that one too, fell out and went down here somewhere. Yeah, pretty dumb of me, but it's an excuse to use my telescoping magnet. Put the air mixture screw in all the way until it bottoms out. Well, bottom it out hard, just don't want to damage it. There you go, that's it, just till it stops. And for starters, we'll go with a half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5 turns. There's a good amount of fuel in the float bowl still. So hopefully that's enough to show us that it's an idler and a rever. This nut over on the passenger side of the carburetor is the difficult one to get on and off. It's right next to the valve cover. Nothing we can't handle here at Freeman's garage. Get ready to fire this thing up. This fire-breathing torque monster. Alright, we've been here before. Let's hook up our remote starter switch to the green wire down on the starter solenoid. And this one will go to our power on our battery. We got to get that hooked up. I'm sure you remember from previous videos that we still haven't found a key for this car. Still could be in there, we don't know. Haven't done a thorough search. But so we got a jumper wire on the hot side of the coil that we're going to snip into the positive side of the battery. Alright, let's fire this thing up. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this cord hanging in your way? I apologize for that. I'm gonna have to grab an extension cord so I can get this cord out of your way. If there's ever anything blocking your view, just yell at the screen and I'll fix it. Alright, power to the coil. Okay, we got sparks, so that's good. Wedge that in there. We got the switch hooked up to power. See what happens. If this works out, if it idles and revs up and everything just fine, then we're successful and we get to move on to the next phase in this Rambler project. I hear you squirting. Oh, that didn't sound good. Let's keep going. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's not good. Alright, try it again. Let's go, Rambler! Was that an idle? I'm not sure how much fuel is in the float bowl still. Let's try it again. There's a squirt. Turn the idle up a little bit. Oh, we're out of fuel now, I can hear it. Dang it! I don't like using this thing because it leaks like a screen door on a submarine, but that's why we have this piece of tie-dye under here to catch all the leaking fuel. What did I call that before? That's okay because we have a fire prevention rag. Oh yeah, that's right. Most everything I own is in a barn 1,500 miles away from here. So yeah, we're just gonna use that to fill this float bowl for right now and see what happens. I couldn't be using a bigger, heavier gas can right now, could I? Alright, is that filling the float bowl? Oh, it's leaking, I can see that. This thing's a piece of junk. No squirtage. Are we not filling the float bowl or what? What's going on here? This is such a mess. I don't think a lot of this fuel is making it to the carburetor. Okay, I think tightening that clamp helped. Is it finding its way into the float bowl? You know, I sure make things difficult. Did you know that, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, Bing Crosby's 1942 version of White Christmas is the #1 selling single of all time? 50 million copies sold, they say. I've spent a few minutes pumping and putting more fuel in here, and eventually I got the float bowl filled up again. So we're squirting, so let's fire it up. All right, it idled. Obviously, it's cold and the choke's not hooked up or anything, but that sounded like an idle to me. Are we still squirting fuel? Yep, I can hear it. Let's fire it up again and see if we can rev her up a little bit. I think it's a victory and a success because it does idle. It did. You heard it. And you did hear it rev up while cracking the throttle. But my guess is the reason why it wouldn't stay running if we kept giving it gas is because this doohickey, it's not flowing. One of you fine folks had commented on the last Rambler video something about fuel pressure. I think you're probably spot on, sir. We'll disconnect all this before things burn down. We don't want that, do we? Oh, come off, you little weasel. So now we get to move forward with this project, and things are only going to get better. We're one step closer to getting her back on the road. Now we need to dissect that fuel pump and get that working. It's a pretty neat one. It pulls double duty. It pumps fuel and runs the wipers. And probably drop and clean the gas tank and run new lines, wouldn't you think? You know what that means. More videos to come. Thank you for watching and subscribing and sharing these videos. I really do appreciate it. I really do mean that. And right now up on your screen is probably the video where we got this running for the first time. I'm sure you've seen it, but in case you haven't, it's a good one.